We are getting breaking news in the investigation. We've obtained an interrogation recording of a housekeeper after 11 months on a restricted island exposing hidden truths.
The first thing you need to understand is that blood doesn't clean up the way you think it does. Not on marble, not in salt air. I found out the hard way that when you mix bleach with certain substances, it turns this yellow color like mustard. And the smell, God, the smell stays in your nose for hours. I worked on that island for 11 months. 11 months of cleaning rooms. I wasn't supposed to remember. Finding things I wasn't supposed to see. And the whole time I kept telling myself, everyone has secrets, right? Rich people just have weirder ones. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I'm Rosa Delgado. I'm 44 years old now, living in Miami. And for nearly 5 years, I carried something I should have never carried alone. Today, I'm finally saying it out loud. What I saw, what I cleaned, what I tried to forget, and why I stayed silent for so long. I can't keep carrying this anymore. Before I got there, I was just trying to survive. It was 2013. My daughter had just turned 12 and needed braces. I was divorced, living with my sister, working 3 cleaning jobs. I remember sitting in an orthodontist's office, looking at a payment plan I couldn't afford. $4,000 might as well have been $1 million. Then I saw it, on a domestic staffing site. Private island estate, Caribbean, live-in housekeeper, $40s $200 a month plus room and board. Discretion required. That number changed everything. That was braces. That was my kid's future. That was rent, food, stability. I applied the same day. The interview was on Skype. I was sitting in my sister's kitchen, trying to hide the mess behind me. The woman who interviewed me was British, mid-50s, cold, precise. Her questions started normal, then shifted. "Are you comfortable with nudity?" I laughed it off. I said yes. I told myself it was just rich people being weird. 3 days later, I got the offer. Contract, plane ticket, 3 NDAs. One of them I didn't even fully understand. I signed anyway. I needed the money. I arrived in March 2013. The island looked like something out of a movie. White buildings, blue roofs, water so clear you could see the bottom. At first, I thought I had won the lottery. The main house was massive, marble everywhere, art I didn't understand but knew was expensive. My room in the staff quarters was better than anything I had ever lived in. Then came the rules, a thick binder. 3 knocks before entering rooms. Never speak unless spoken to. Never ask names. Never take photos. No phones in main areas. 2 days off per month. But you had to leave the island completely. It was strict, but I told myself it was just privacy. Luxury people are like that, I thought. Day 3 changed everything. I was sent to clean a villa. The place was destroyed, sheets ripped, furniture broken, a smell I couldn't describe. On the nightstand, a stack of $100 bills. I called the supervisor. She came in, looked at me, took the money and said, "Good girl." Like I was nothing more than a trained animal. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't just cleaning. This was about silence, about obedience, about not asking questions. After that, I stopped asking, but I started noticing things. A guest log left open once. Names I recognized from TV, politics, business. And alongside them, first names and ages. Girls. 18, 19, 21. I told myself they were escorts, models, consenting adults. I had to believe that because the alternative was too heavy, and I needed the money. Months passed. My kids were better off. I was sending money home. I was finally breathing again, until I saw the bathroom in Villa 5, clumps of blonde hair in the drain, blood on the tiles, underwear, small sizes, like children's sizes. I stood there shaking. My mind tried to explain it away. Anything but the truth. But I knew. Still, I cleaned it. I scrubbed the blood. I pulled the hair. I bagged everything. And I burned it in the incinerator. That night, I couldn't sleep. That's when I realized I was already part of it. After that, I started noticing patterns. Weeks of chaos followed by emptiness. Guests coming and going. Helicopters. Boats at odd hours. Then I saw them. Girls. Young. Nervous, smiling in a way that didn't reach their eyes, performing happiness, performing survival. One of them looked at me once, just for a second, and I saw fear so deep it stayed with me forever. Then came the event. Music, laughter, parties, but behind it, something else. Doors closing, movement upstairs, rules getting stricter. I saw powerful men I recognized. I saw girls being waved over like objects. I kept walking. I always kept walking. Until I couldn't ignore it anymore. I overheard conversations about moving her, about paying people off, about silence. They spoke like it was business, like people were furniture. I remember standing behind a column, holding a cleaning bottle, trying not to breathe. That night, I went back to my room and cried on the bathroom floor. But I stayed. Then people started disappearing. One housekeeper, Carla, didn't show up one day. We were told she killed herself. But I didn't believe it. None of us did. The island didn't feel like a place anymore. It felt like a system, a machine that removed problems. And I was inside it. Then everything changed in 2019. News started breaking. The island was in the media. Victims speaking out. Names I recognized. Places I had cleaned. I kept working anyway. I told myself it was almost over. Then a journalist showed up. Then he was gone. Then helicopters circled the island, and one morning they said it was over. We were being evacuated. That day, I knew I had one chance. I went into the office. I took photos, files, names, anything I could. My hands were shaking so badly the images came out blurry, but I didn't stop. Then an FBI agent walked in. He looked at me and asked if I worked there. Yes, I said. He asked me when I last saw him. 2 weeks ago. Then he asked the question that still haunts me. Did you witness anything illegal? I looked at everything I had seen, everything I had cleaned, everything I had burned, and I said no. I lied. Because I didn't trust him. I didn't trust anyone. And I didn't know if telling the truth would save me or destroy me. So I left. I got on the boat with everyone else, watched the island disappear behind me, and I told myself it was over, but it wasn't. It was just beginning. Back in Miami, there was no normal life waiting for me. I sat in the back of an Uber holding those photos on my phone, wondering what I had just escaped and what had followed me home. And even now, I still don't know if leaving was survival, or just the part where I finally started remembering everything I tried so hard to forget. I had no idea. I was terrified because I kept thinking, what if they're watching me? What if they know what I took? I had signed those NDAs. I had seen what happened to people who talked, so I just went quiet. For 4 years, I didn't tell anyone. Not my sister, not my kids, nobody. I got a job cleaning houses in Coral Gables. Rich people again, but different rich people. Normal rich people. Mess, wine glasses, hair on sofas. Nothing that made me want to vomit. But I was carrying it the whole time. Every single day, I'd be scrubbing someone's bathtub, and I'd see a stain, and I'd freeze. Completely freeze. My hands would start shaking, and I'd have to go outside and sit in my car until I could breathe again. My therapist later called it PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder, like I'd been to war or something. And I remember thinking, yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. I started thinking about coming forward when he died. Epstein. August 2019. I was at work cleaning this mansion in Pinecrest when my phone started blowing up. Texts from people I used to work with. I checked the news and there it was. Jeffrey Epstein found dead in jail cell. Ruled a suicide, and I just stood there with a mop in my hand, and I started laughing, this horrible, broken laugh. The woman whose house I was cleaning came in and asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, just bad news, but inside I was thinking, of course he's dead. Just like Carla, just like anyone who knew too much. Do I believe it was suicide? Honestly, I don't know. He was one of the most high-profile prisoners in America on suicide watch. Cameras malfunctioning, guards falling asleep. It's all just convenient. Too convenient. But I also saw how powerful people protect themselves. So yes, I had questions. I still do. I thought about going to the authorities every day, but I also watched what happened to women who did. I watched them get dragged through the media, called liars, called gold diggers. I watched lawyers who made more in an hour than I made in a year tear them apart. And I thought, I'm just a housekeeper. I didn't even graduate high school. Who's going to believe me? But I had the photos. Blurry photos of files I wasn't supposed to see. Photos I took while probably committing a crime myself. I was trespassing. I was stealing privileged information. A good lawyer could destroy me in minutes. So what changed? My daughter. It was last year, November. She's 19 now, in community college studying criminal justice. She came home doing paperwork and asked me where I worked that year I was gone. She needed employment history. I lied. Again. I said it was a resort in the Bahamas, but she asked the name, and I froze. I couldn't think fast enough. She looked at me with these innocent eyes, and I realized she was the same age some of those girls had been. I went to my room and cried for hours. Then I looked at those photos again, the ones I had been carrying for years, and I asked myself, what am I protecting? What am I so afraid of? So I called a lawyer, a victims' rights lawyer I found online. I told him everything. He listened, and when I finished, he said he believed me, and he told me to go to the FBI. It took 6 months to even get a meeting, 6 months of calls, emails. We'll get back to you. When I finally met them, it was underwhelming. 2 agents in suits that probably cost more than my rent. I told them everything again, every detail, every name, every file I had photographed. They took notes, they took copies, and they said, "Thank you for coming forward. We'll be in touch." That was it. That was 8 months ago. I've called them 6 times since. Same answer every time. The investigation is ongoing. We can't comment. Which feels like code for nothing is happening. And I think I know why. Because the people in those files are powerful. Politicians, businessmen, media executives. Someone decided it wasn't worth it. That's a cynical view of the justice system, I know. But look at what happened. Epstein is dead. Ghislaine Maxwell got 20 years. And the rest? Where are they? Many deny ever being there. Of course they do. Some probably weren't. But I know what I saw. I know what I photographed. Guest logs with names that would make your head spin. My lawyer won't let me release them. No corroboration, no protection. It's my word against theirs. And their word is backed by money, power, and lawyers, so I can't. And it's frustrating in a way I can't even describe. It's like holding a bomb I'm not allowed to throw. I can't publish it. I can't even fully talk about it without risking everything. Sometimes I ask myself what the point was. Then I think maybe the point is that I tried, that I'm still trying. There's one girl I can't stop thinking about. Madison. She was 19, maybe 20. Blonde, pretty in a generic way. But there was something in her eyes. Sadness, exhaustion. She asked me how to leave once. I told her the boat schedule. That's it. I didn't help her escape. I didn't do enough. I was scared. I thought if I helped her, I'd be next. And sometimes I told myself maybe she chose it. Maybe it wasn't my responsibility. I don't believe that anymore. She was trapped, just like I was, just like all of us were. She disappeared 2 days later. I don't know what happened to her. I've searched. I've looked everywhere. I've never found her. Sometimes I think she might still be out there, thinking no one cared. And that destroys me more than anything. I see her in my dreams. Different versions, same question every time. Did you tell anyone? And I say yes. And she asks, did it help? And I wake up before I can answer, because I don't know. People say telling the truth matters. That justice comes slowly. But from where I stand, it looks like the powerful won. Epstein is dead and can't testify. Maxwell is in prison but not naming names. The men who were there are still living their lives, still speaking at events, still running companies, still pretending nothing happened. And the girls are left with it. Some have come forward. I respect them more than I can say. But I also see what it costs them. The attacks, the doubt, the endless scrutiny. And I stayed silent for years. I know I'm part of why it took so long for anyone to believe them. People say I was in an impossible situation. My therapist says it. My lawyer says it. My daughter says it. But it doesn't feel impossible. It feels like, how did I not see it sooner? I needed the money. I was afraid. And I did what people do when they're afraid. I rationalized it. That doesn't excuse it, but it explains it. Now I'm stuck. The FBI isn't moving. Journalists are afraid. I can't release anything without destroying my life. So I'm just here. But I am telling my story. And maybe that matters. Maybe not in the way I want. Maybe not with justice or arrests or headlines. But maybe someone hears it. Someone who's where I was. And maybe they make a different choice. That's what I hold on to. Because if I stop believing even that, then I don't know what any of it was for. I used to believe that even if every single person involved was guilty, we would still never see real convictions. That thought feels bleak now, but it also feels realistic. I'm not a dreamer anymore. I spent almost a year inside something I thought I understood, and it turned into a nightmare I can't fully step out of. Now I try to stay in reality, even when reality is unbearable. The truth is simple and ugly. Some people are too rich to face consequences. They don't always go to prison. Sometimes there are civil suits, settlements, reputations destroyed, but reputations aren't prison, and settlements aren't admissions of guilt. It's just money being used to make problems disappear. That's how it has always worked. People tell me things have changed, that there's awareness now, that there are conversations about trafficking and abuse of power. Maybe there are. People post about it, watch documentaries, talk for a while, and then they move on with their lives. Meanwhile, the reality doesn't move on. Girls are still being trafficked. Powerful men are still buying their way out of accountability. Housekeepers, drivers, nannies, people who see things and stay silent because they need their jobs. And I am angry. I'm angry at the men who did this. I'm angry at the system that allowed it. I'm angry at myself for being part of it. And I'm angry that years later, nothing meaningful has changed. When people ask me what the solution is, I don't pretend to be an expert. I'm not a politician or an activist. I'm just someone who saw too much and is trying to live with it. But if I had to say what needs to change, it would be this. People need real protection when they speak up. Witness protection that actually works. Journalists who aren't afraid of lawsuits. A justice system that doesn't bend under wealth and power. That sounds like a lot, maybe too much. But that's the job, isn't it? I told my children some of what happened, not everything. My daughter cried when she heard it. We both did. And then she asked me the hardest question. Why didn't I quit sooner? I told her the truth. I was scared. I needed the money. I convinced myself it wasn't as bad as it was. Saying it out loud made it feel worse, not better. She said she understood, but I don't think she really can. How could she? She's never been that desperate. Still, I want her to understand one thing clearly. If she ever sees something wrong, she should speak up, no matter the cost, because silence costs more in the end. When I finally decided to speak publicly, it wasn't bravery. I don't call it that. Bravery is what the victims showed when they came forward, when they testified. I was just someone who finally did what I should have done years ago. But even now, I question everything. Every time I clean a bathroom, I remember things I wish I could forget. Every time I see a young woman who looks lost, I think of the girls I couldn't help. Every time I hear about powerful people escaping consequences, I think of that place. It never leaves me. Trauma doesn't disappear just because you want it to. And I wasn't even the victim. That's the part that haunts me the most. I wasn't the one it happened to. I was the one who saw it. And even that broke something in me. So what must it be like for them? Sometimes I think about the staff who worked there with me. Some of them knew things, some of them didn't. Most of them are gone now, different countries, different identities, like they were erased. I tried to contact one of them once. He blocked me immediately. That's when I realized I was alone in this. I have no real proof people want to believe. Photos, memories, things people can dismiss if they want to. I know that. I also know that in a courtroom, I would be torn apart. My past, my mistakes, my financial situation, all used to make me look unreliable. That's how it works. That's always how it works. I've already lost people because of this. Friends who didn't want the connection, family members who think I should have stayed quiet. My sister barely speaks to me anymore. Maybe she's right. Maybe I made a mistake. But I can't unknow what I know. I can't unsee what I saw. So I chose truth over safety. Or maybe I just stopped feeling like I had a choice at all. I didn't do this for attention. I didn't write a book. I didn't sell my story. I just wanted it on record. I wanted someone, somewhere, to know what happened. When journalists first heard me, most of them refused to touch it. Too risky, too unverified. One believed me but said his editor killed the story. Another said they needed more sources I couldn't provide. I started to understand something then. The truth is not always enough. It felt like screaming into a void. That's when I understood why people stay silent, because the system isn't built to protect truth. It's built to protect power. Later, I was told there was an interview about me. I agreed to speak, even though I was terrified. I kept thinking, maybe nothing will come of this. Maybe everything will continue exactly as it is. But I also thought, if I don't say it now, I might never say it at all. During the interview, I talked about everything: the fear, the guilt, the system, the silence. I talked about things I had buried for years. At one point, I told them I wasn't brave. I still believe that. I was just finally unable to keep living with what I knew. After it aired, everything felt louder. Not safer. Louder. I started noticing things. A car outside my home that stayed too long. Different hours, same place. I told myself it was nothing. Then I told myself it might be something. I became careful in ways I never had to be before. Changing routes, looking over my shoulder, buying pepper spray just in case. Maybe it was paranoia, or maybe it wasn't. I stopped being able to tell the difference. At one point, I called the interviewer crying. I told him I thought I was being followed. He didn't know what to say. Neither did I. All I knew was I couldn't go back. Not to who I was before I knew all of this. Because once you see it, you don't unsee it. There was one night I never forget. I heard screaming, real screaming, not noise, not confusion, terror. I went to the window and saw lights on in one of the buildings, shadows moving, and then the screaming stopped. Suddenly, like it was turned off. The next morning, everything looked normal. Too normal, clean, like nothing had ever happened. Someone had already erased it. That moment stays with me more than anything else, because I didn't act. I went back to bed. I told myself it wasn't my place, that it wasn't my problem, and I carry that with me more than anything else. Not just what I saw, but what I didn't do. When I think about the victims, I think about that difference. They lived it. I only witnessed pieces of it. And even that changed me permanently. I've been told my pain matters too. That trauma doesn't need to be ranked. Maybe that's true. I'm still learning how to believe it. Sometimes I get messages, anonymous ones. Some are threats. Some are strange. One even said someone named Madison survived. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if any of it is. But I wanted to believe it. Because hope, even fragile hope, is sometimes the only thing keeping you from breaking completely. People ask me what I want now. I don't hope for justice anymore. Hope feels like something for people who still trust systems. I don't. What I want is simpler. I want the truth to exist, even if it changes nothing, even if no one listens, because silence is heavier than truth, and I've carried silence long enough.